So the first thing we need to do is go to Google and get into your Office 365 account. So you can click the link and then go to sign in. You will need to use your school email address and it will ask for your usual password. So once we're into Office, you need to go to the grid of dots in the top left hand corner and then click on Excel and create a new blank workbook. So in this lesson we're going to have a look at if statements. The first thing that I've already done is clicked in the file name there and changed that to if statements 1, so you might just want to do that so the computer doesn't choose what to call your file. An if statement is the Excel or the spreadsheet equivalent of an if then else statement that we use in computing so that the computer can make a decision. We're going to start off just by putting in our column heading there of name, gender and team. So we're going to kind of set up a spreadsheet to assign people to different teams for a school sports day. So we just need first of all to put in our names, so we've got just 9 different names here. So what we're going to do now, when you're putting data into a computer, sometimes it's much easier to use single letters or codes rather than typing lots of information in. So what we're going to do now with this is just use a single letter for each of these. So when we get to this one, leave that blank and also leave this blank, because then we can use that for the if statements later just for some error correction. So what we're going to do with these then is just going down in team, and then we're going to leave the last one blank there. So we've got our initial data here, and what we're going to do now is we are going to change these into longer labels. So if we now say, watch your caps, so, and I'm going to go to the top there and I'm just going to double click just to widen that a little bit. So let's start with our if statement. So we start off with an equals, just like for any formula, equals if, open bracket. So now we've got to tell it what we're looking at. So we're looking at this cell here. We don't worry about any of the others, just do them one at a time. We're saying if B2 equals, and because the M is a letter or alphanumeric data rather than a number or numeric data, it needs to go in speech marks. So if B2 equals M, in a normal if then else statement we would put then. So now we use a comma instead of then. So we're saying if B2 equals M, then we need to say what we want here. So we're going to put in male. Else, because we're doing an if then else, if then else, we're going to put female. Check how many brackets you put in and close that. And now we can replicate this for our different choices. So immediately you can see that yes, it is changing these over from those codes. However, for these two people, Alex and Pat, it's putting down female even though that hasn't been filled in. So it could be that there's a mistake on the form or someone's missed something out. It could be that Alex and Pat would just prefer not to say, or it could be that their gender was not an option on the initial form that they filled in. So what we need to do is go back and change our if statement. I'm going to go on there because what the statement's saying is that if that is saying M, then male, or else everything else is female. So we're just going to remove this last part. Keep the else, the comma there for the else, and then we're going to start another if. If, we need to click there again, v2 equals f, then female, else, and we're just going to leave this blank because if that's been left blank, we're going to leave it blank. And for blank, we put a speech mark and then another speech mark with no spaces. And then we close both brackets. So press enter and then replicate over everything else. Okay, so now where they've been left blank, our formula is doing the same. Now we need to assign to the teams. So we've labelled the teams 1, 2 and 3, but the actual team names are colours. The online version of Excel is a little bit limited in what we're going to do later, the conditional formatting. So we're just going to have to just use these teams. So we have team colour again. Let's widen that column. And we're going to now start with our if statement again. So we're going to go equals if. Let's look at our team number. If C2 equals, so start with the first thing, it could be a 1. We don't need to put speech marks because this is numeric data. So if C2 equals 1, then now we want alphanumeric data, we want a word, so we must use speech marks. And for 1, we're going to put them in team red. Else, start another if, open the bracket. If C2 equals 2. Now note we don't need to go to any of the others because this one could also be 1 or 2 or 3. If C2 equals 2, then I'm going to put them on the green team. Else, if, open the bracket, C2 equals 3, then the gold team. And again, we've got one that's blank. Okay, so we're just either going to leave it blank or we need to call up that that's an error, that they've just not been assigned to a team. So I'm going to put in speech marks error. So again, we're going to count at the brackets. So we've got 3 brackets opening. So 1, 2, 3, closing brackets. Press enter. And then we're going to replicate all of these. Because we've replicated, they are all highlighted, so leave them highlighted. If you clicked somewhere else, go back and highlight them again. Now we need to make sure that we're on home, and we're going to go to conditional formatting. Conditional formatting changes colours and fonts depending on what is in the cell. So if we go to conditional formatting, and we're going to create a new rule. So the range is fine, we've already added that. So highlight cells with cell value, and I want an equals. So cell value equal to, now these are words, so we need to use alphanumeric data indicators, which is the speech mark. So if that's equal to red, then we're going to format with that red. This version of Excel is a little bit limited in these. So if we then click done, and it's not picking that up, so let's just go back again then and edit it. And the reason is that the computer wants to put its own speech marks in. So we have equals, speech mark red, speech mark, and then let's click done this time. Okay, so it's formatting those. So what I'm going to do now is go to the conditional formatting and a new rule. So it's the same selection, cell value equal to, okay, and this time we won't put the speech marks in then. I'll just put in green, and then we'll pick the green over there and click done. And on this one then we'll put the cell value of equal to gold, and we'll use the yellow fill there and click done, and then we can close down our conditional formatting. So our final part here then is we're going to highlight all of this, and we're going to put grid lines over everything. Let's just widen our column a little bit there. Let's highlight the tops here and make those bold and make them slightly bigger, and again then let's just ensure everything is fitting in there. The last thing to do is just change some of our data, because it would be much easier just to format those normally using the format tools rather than conditional formatting. But as an example then, Bob here, who wasn't assigned to a team, if we decide to assign him to team 3, then this will update. So it may be that we just decide to go through and as we change any of these, the conditional formatting updates, which is the whole point of doing that, so that we don't have to keep coming back and recolouring things again later.